Hello everyone, HazzaJC here, coming at you with a very quick video going over Challengers EMEA Stage 2. Now, this tournament is fast upon us, right? Of course, we've been paying attention to VCT finals, wondering out who's going to be qualified to Masters London. But with that now behind us and some of our trophy winners already locked in, I'm going to talk about this event because it builds up to the latter stages of this year. These are teams that you will want to get familiar with because some of them will be competing against those VCT teams for a spot at Champs later in the year. So these are the groups that we've got right now. I'm going to be running over them, giving some of my thoughts on the teams, their regions perhaps. I haven't been able to watch as much as I would like because I've been preoccupied with VCT EMEA, as well as co-streaming, which I've been doing for a few different regions on my channel. So make sure to subscribe here if you're not already, if you're interested in any of that on YouTube and on Twitch as well. But going on and off of the Liquipedia first, let me try and explain to you what it is that is going on here. So the qualification pathways to Stage 2, which is your inter-regional tournament, your best opportunity to get points to then qualify to this bigger event later in the year, is a little more simplistic this time around. So we don't have any additional qualifiers for DAC or anything like that. They've sent 2 teams. It's 2 teams per region for most regions, except for Northeast. They send 4 because it's 2 combined regions. Spain has opened up a can of worms. They've decided they wanted to qualify 1 team based on points. So this is overall performance throughout the year so far. And Barca are apparently the champions despite never winning the region. There was a big controversy about this over on Twitter, but we won't get into it here. Point being, UCAM did win Stage 2. They will be partnered up with Barca and heading through into the tournament representing Spain. We've also got 2 teams from Turkey, different teams from last time around, and different teams from MENA as well, Middle East and North Africa, 2 sub-regions qualifying 1 team each based on their performance in the playoff stage. So what I'm going to do is go over each of the teams sequentially and talk about who surprised me, what I'm expecting from this event for each of them before we then move on to our tier list at the end and actually rank where we think each of them are going to place, who makes it out of groups and who I can see going on to win this tournament. Of course, it's important to mention that this is the points standings as they are currently. We have quite a few different teams here who need to get a result in groups to 100% confirm that they will be in the top 16, which are the teams that then go on to compete against the VCT teams that don't directly qualify to playoffs in Stage 2 later this year. There are some absentees from this list for Stage 2, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. So let's get straight into it and see who's missing, who's shocked and surprised me maybe a little bit. Starting off with DAC, CGN and FOKUS, not too surprising for me here at all. I think that Frankfurt got done dirty by the fact that this is single elimination, games played on LAN, as DAC have these amazing offline finals every stage in the Experion. I got the chance to go ahead and have a little look on one of my off days there while I was doing EMEA Stage 1 playoffs, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, so FOKUS got through. Lewis is back in the team now. I think he's always been Mr. FOKUS, our boy Lewis, and the team seem to do better with his experience. Now, I can't say that I've watched extensively any of these regions, so I don't believe he's taken the mantle of IGL back off of Mulsey, but definitely a very vocal player and one which I think makes sense to have in the environment here. Looking at the subs, I think it was Cullum that stepped away. In particular, Pyro was playing for them earlier on. But CGN is the team that actually ended up winning the final ever stage of DAC, of course, as it was the final regional stage for all of these teams before we then move on to a compacted EMEA stage in Stage 3. And yeah, I think they're looking like the real deal, you know. Capio and Zesht have been able to build an identity. We're currently in a meta which is very contact heavy as well, so their traditional style actually suits it quite nicely. Players like Zipan have always been absolute quality, and DaviH is someone that I can always sing high praises of. They had a bit of an interesting calling structure, I think, in Stage 1, but they've managed to make that work for themselves. I didn't manage to catch the finals, but these are sort of 2 no-brainer picks for me, I think. Both of these teams have been fantastic over the years. Moving on to France, this one did surprise me, and I think this was a surprise to quite a lot of people too. Mandatory already qualified to Stage 3, of course, because of their playoffs placement in Stage 1. They made top 2. They look like a team that could really go ahead and actually push Enterprise for that crown, and they just dropped the ball. Playoffs was in the palm of their hand. I think they had a huge opportunity to actually go ahead and win the league for the first time. How poetic it would have been for them, as it's always been Joblife, the most decorated team, and yeah, no trouble for them to go ahead and win it again, which was a massive turnaround, honestly. They brought in Unfake from Vitality. People will remember he was with them in kickoff. Dropped Enzo, who now is got to be in a pretty rough situation. His stocks individually, when you look at the teams that he's been part of in recent years, and just still not quite able to get back up to that tier 1 level. He was with Mandatory, actually. I'm surprised he didn't renew. So that's a rough one. But I think this team just has so much potential. You look at the individuals, they just had to find a way to actually harness that and get that together on the same page. I don't know what exactly was missing, but they were right on the brink of not even qualifying from groups. So a tough one for them, but for Whip, absolutely huge. Players like Hoodie and Hyber, which we've seen compete in these events many times over the years. I think Hyber, it was with, I'm trying to remember now, racking my brains, HGE back in the first stage last year. Hoodie, of course, with FOKUS, he went to Ascension. No, he didn't go to Ascension. He got cut before Ascension for Samed, but he was with them throughout the year. He played in multiple EMEA stages, multiple playoff events, and I think, look, he has the quality to carry them through here. The odds are going to be against this Whip team, though, and despite making that upset themselves against a quality team like Mandatory, they'll have to be able to repeat it on this bigger stage. So we'll see how that goes. But this was one of the surprises for me, and I think, look, this is cool to see. But moving on to Northeast, my home region, we said farewell to it, and yeah, we spoke about it a little bit on my podcast as well with Cairo and Billy, the Wingman. Go ahead and check that out in the description. Been collaborating with them on a weekly basis now and getting some more content out. So if you want to see some more long form from me and those guys, go ahead and give it a look. But yeah, we mentioned briefly, you know, some of these teams, Liquid Academy and Enterprise, the only organizations to win Northeast since it merged, and Enterprise capping it off with yet another win, a poetic closure. Qadsiah, that next generation of talent of which we've seen so many produced by this region. Think of your Kayaks, your Kikos of the world, an ace with the Blade Storm on Fracture at the end there on the Jet. And I mean, this team is just fantastic, honestly. Spoke to Prox in the post-game interview. He was talking about how, look, he doesn't feel like a rookie anymore. When he came into Frankfurt last year, still felt like a rookie in DAC. The same on Gentlemates, and now in this Enterprise team, he really feels that he can have an impact, and you definitely see that on a game-by-game basis. Magnum snubbed not to stay in Tier 1. Lime should have been in Tier 1 for the longest time, and Alluri, with the right pieces around him, has proven that he's a quality caller. So, I mean, this team is the team to beat and the team that you've got to be thinking about if you're just coming to these videos to educate yourself a little bit more about Tier 2. Liquid Academy have some familiar names themselves. Spoke about Rex and GSR being promising future talents. Rex is VCT eligible as it stands, and Kix was playing for Team Liquid when they needed a substitute for Wayne earlier in the year. Yeah, this team is great. I just think we needed to see them show that final bit of closure in the big pressure matches. Pretty is someone who has consistently missed out on lifting silverware at a Challengers level, and that'll be now the question that we ask of them in this Challengers EMEA event. I think he did really step up, and so did Wanzero. We saw a level from both of these players that we'd sort of been waiting for a very long time, which impressed me. Still not quite enough, though. They have solidified themselves as the second best in a very stacked region towards the top end, though. So I think they can be happy with that, and they'll come into this event as a contender. NAVI Junior sort of out of nowhere, but pushing themselves into a top 4, which I think was left vacant, at least one of the spots here, as MIR will round things out. They've gone from strength to strength and actually managed to take a win over Enterprise throughout the gauntlet. It was a weird sort of triple elimination playoff bracket that we ended up getting, but yeah, I'm really impressed with this team. Avi's someone who's been around in the region for a while, and of course, it's not just Javelin, but it's Kolosha too that we actually saw playing most of the games. Darcio and K9 here, I think, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, were the other two in the team. Metro Neo, I'm not sure we saw too much of him, but this is a project ran by Jonta, similar to Boars that we saw before. And definitely has promise. I mean, look, if the other teams in this group are going to fall asleep on NAVI Junior, then they can absolutely punish them, but we'll just have to see how they end up doing. And if they have the bottle in the big games, because they were the upper bracket team as it stood in Northeast. So moving onwards, we go back to Spain. And look, we spoke about it a little bit earlier, but UCAM have been the team to beat regionally, I think. And when mandatory went missing, this was the team that they got past to make it top 2. I think the fact that they've just kept themselves at every single one of these events since Clash with kickoff at the start of the year 2, they've got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. And just the amount of names here that we've seen consistently in these tournaments, they have the quality. I think too, Bisk's style of duelist, playing with the operator on a lot of attack rounds, maybe been hindered by the Yoru changes, but can still play the Jet, play the Raze, and that's sort of where we're headed. So I have a lot of confidence that that's going to work out. If we're getting more Sentinel buffs in future, although I don't think it will affect this event, Olazera is going to look super nasty too. This guy is brilliant on his lurks and someone that you've got to be watching out for. Barca, on the other hand, also have, some pretty explosive players. Guardi, we saw him on the same team the previous year. Vitinho's had spells in VCT too, the only player on this team that has, in fact. And then Stonesy was in Ascension. Kayak's had some time on 200 full box or whatever it was in Northeast. And Globex as well. We've also seen him on this roster in the past look really decent. I think it was it was with Koi last year, right? Subbing into that team when changes were made. These are two fantastic teams. I think for Barca, it's just got to be a case of whether they can build on their last Challengers result, because we really saw the floor sort of fall from beneath them as they got tested on the edges of their map pool by teams like Enterprise. And I think we saw the same with Liquid in their own best of 5 final. So that's what you really need to get deep in these competitions. Moving on to Turkey, this is a region which I really wanted to see step up, at least with some of the new names. Like, who do we have coming through and who have we got to be looking out for next? Because this region has always been one where you sort by ACS, you look who's at the top, and it's the easiest way to find the next up-and-comer. And with that in mind, REBORN have sort of fit the bill now, I think. This was the former S2G team which we saw compete in the previous stage, but with S2G ceasing operations in Valorant and stepping back, this is what's left over. You will remember Batuznax from his time, or Batu, on Apex last year, and he'd sort of came in to in-game lead a Joblife mix team in Blender in off-season, and now this REBORN team, which, with the support of Riazi, who's been around regionally for a very long time too, have kind of just taken over, I think, and filled that spot. The double promotion of the Ascension teams, Ulf as it was, now Eternal Fire, and of course BBL Pacific, now BBL, meant that the throne was left empty. Someone was there to fill it. And for a long time, I think we assumed that was either going to be Besiktas, based on what they did in kickoff, or Misa, one of these other teams that has already qualified into Stage 3. They dropped the ball. Another team which missed an opportunity, like Mandatory, to go ahead and kick on, has sort of had their spot taken by these two. And I think it's nice to see Besiktas coming back after what was a good start of the year with Clash. I felt that they didn't give the best accounts of themselves on the interregional stage, all things considered, with some new players coming in here as well, some new names. And between the two teams, I think the player I'm most excited for would probably be Qadsiah. Now, I know it's a funny name, Lightning McQueen, first thing that pops into your head. But this guy actually looks pretty rapid, and I'm hoping that we get the best from him here. Aroni was also really, really good, playing like on the initiator role, I think, sort of flexing around a little bit, but as you can see, has basically played everything, and I think that's kind of what you want from your young players at this level. And yeah, Besiktas not winning the final, but showing a pretty strong run through playoffs. Those are the two Turkish teams. Now, when it comes to MENA, I'm not always too well read. These regions can be difficult to follow when you consider how they're split up between the two. But looking at it here, Qadsiah were able to win this one. Stallions dropped off. We'd seen them, or we didn't get to see them actually in the previous stage due to reasons outside of the server, which was a shame because we had some returning faces, I think, on that team. And then in North Africa, we have Ghools. This is a brand new organization, brand new set of faces to this level of competition. So really, the expectation is sort of non-existent in a way. like, we just don't know what to expect from this team whatsoever. It's a Tunisian core, I think, with Mazen and Yapa. GNG missed out. They were the ones that qualified last time around. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they perform. This is the more unknown of the teams. Qadsiah do have some returning faces, though. In fact, we've seen every single one of these players in an interregional before. Sikri was the in-game leader for Twisted Minds in Ascension last year. They went on a deep run, of course. I think we saw Zemo partnered up there as well. Khalid and Spy, both part of previous rosters we saw. I think it was the Ultimate/Falcons. Yeah, these guys have represented MENA for a very long time. They know what it means to play in these competitions, and I think actually this is the kind of experience that gets you out of a group stage. Simon Dark, also a quality duelist. He was playing with Apex in some home ground qualifiers. They wanted to sign him but couldn't due to visa issues. He's someone else who can show up and has sort of been on the mouths and minds of teams within the region, sort of coming over from MENA into continental Europe for quite a while. So this is the MENA team to make it out of groups, to sort of really push some of these other teams. If there was one, Ghools more of an unknown for me, but no real surprises that they qualify at the very least, and North Africa is a shake-up. So with all of this in mind, I've yapped enough. You've heard about all of the teams and what I'm thinking about them, at least on paper, and how they've performed contrasted to maybe some of the regional teams that we've seen before. Let's go ahead and try to rank them. Now, I've not fully organized this tier list yet, so let me do that right now. And there we go. We have sorted it out. So obviously the teams that place first from any of these groups, whether it's the 3-team or 4-team group, will go to playoffs. And in the 4-team group, well, there is an opportunity to place 4th. You can place a little further down, but the points allocation should still remain the same between the two. So essentially what we're looking at here, and with the ramifications of Stage 3 on the horizon, it's all of the teams in this bracket here that need to win at least one game, maybe 2 games, to feel confident that they can make it to Stage 3, because I'm not sure what exactly the tiebreakers are. It says here about teams participating in the event and others not. But actually, when you look at it, we have, what is it here? 6 different teams competing that are appearing in their first Challengers EMEA stage compared to others which have already locked themselves in. So let's try and paint that picture and figure out what it's going to be. Starting off with our first of the 3-team groups, that's CGN, NAVI Junior, and Besiktas. I'm going to go pretty rapid fire on this because I've already given my thoughts on the teams. I think CGN would be silly not to qualify from this. And now, it has been a horrendous time for CGN fans watching their team compete in these Challengers EMEA events. They've consistently been pitched against teams like Enterprise. It was BBL Pacific last year. Now is their opportunity. And I think with Besiktas not fully taking a hold of the chances they've been presented with, this might actually be CGN's time. I don't want to write off NAVI Junior at all. I think they're a fantastic team. They might need a little bit more experience, though. And it's kind of a toss-up between who finishes second and who finishes third, in my opinion. Now, is there the potential for either of these teams to go ahead and take top spot? Absolutely. It's an interregional. Every one of these teams is here on merit. And I think this reminds me of the previous stage where we had Liquid, Frankfurt, and Misa. I went with Misa that time around. Turkish team's probably going to have a bit of a ping advantage here too. But I'm going to go with CGN. I think that their style will be better, more well-versed with some of these international teams. And do I want to underrate Na'Vi? You know what? I think I will. Sorry to the NAVI fans. They did a brilliant job to make it this far. That's where I'm going to put them. And who knows? Maybe it's an anti-jinx and we'll see them move through. Let's move on to Group B, though. This is another 3-team group. Enterprise, Focus, and Reborn. Hotly contested. I've complained about the seeding in these groups before. I think I would love it to be equal across the board, right? Whether we're committing to having 3-team groups, 4-team groups, or even just like 2 big groups where we play round robin and have a few more days in this group stage. I would love to see it. I think people would love to see it as well, because that's what these events are all about. I don't see any world where Enterprise don't win this. Now, sure, it is over, like a couple of best of 3s. You can drop a map here and there. You lose one, you're relying on other people qualifying you. And I don't think that's a position Enterprise want to find themselves in. But even looking back at like the the previous group stage that they had and some of the matches against UCAM and stuff, they could go down 7 or 8 rounds, call a couple timeouts, and then the team locks in and finds a way to right the ship. I just think this team it feels infallible at this stage in the year. If they were to lose this stage, it's not the end of the world. They're already qualified to stage 3. Maybe there's room for them to experiment. I think some of their compositions have definitely looked interesting. They've felt happy to continue playing Yoru despite the nerfs. They're leaning into a lot of comfort, and Alluri has shown that he wants to call around that, seeing a lot of Sky where maybe Fade would be the premier choice on some maps, but this is the Enterprise we get, and I think the one that makes it through. Second place, I'm going to go with REBORN, and I'm putting FOKUS in third. FOKUS, to me, still look a fantastic team, but I see the promise in this REBORN roster. They have managed to assert their dominance in Turkey, which is a very difficult thing to do, stage on stage, and if they can carry that on, then yeah, they might be a contender by the end of the year. We'll see if players like Qadsiah can continue to build on that legacy. I know Lewis has his line where he says that he doesn't lose to Turkish teams and whatever, but I'm going to just plate it like this, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Moving on to the 4-team group, we have WIP, MIR, UCAM, and Qadsiah. Now, I think UCAM, again, this is their group to lose. We have some pretty clear-cut favourites when it comes to playoff teams, at least in my eyes so far. So I'm going to go with UCAM this time around. Now, in terms of a second-place team, this is pretty difficult to call. And honestly, I might actually go with Qadsiah on this one. I think these are the two teams, in my opinion at least, that should be chasing the top spot in this group. When it comes to WIP and MIR, though, I was really, really unimpressed with MIR the last time that we saw them in one of these EMEA stages. And despite how decent they've looked so far in Northeast, I'm probably going to pick against them here and put WIP in third. Now, I don't know if this is an egregious choice from me. Maybe there's a world where these two sort of flip around, but WIP have some decent players. They look like they could be the upset team, and MIR, some of their stuff still just like a little bit dated. I don't know if that's still sort of the bias of the Eurometa, but I'm not a big fan of Redgar's calling, and I find it hard to root for this team at least. So those will be my standings for the third of the groups, Group C. And finally, we have Group D. Now, there are some serious titans in here. Really, there is. I'm going to work up from the bottom, and I will go with Ghools. And it feels harsh, but again, this team is entirely unproven, and it's on them to sort of upset that and show me why they deserve to be moving up the rankings here. I don't know the names. I can't say that I want to put them above, you know, your Joblifes with your Chiwas, your Kamiks, your Domas, your Runners, like your Unfakes. I don't see it. Your Liquids, your Barcas, like, I'm sorry. I don't have to explain it much more than that, though. When we then look at the remainder of these teams, which one of them is going to be moving up the ladder? I haven't really thought this one through, guys. I'll be real. I'm doing this on the fly. How good do Joblife look? Do they look good enough to make a playoff stage, or are they going to crumble in groups again? Because we've seen them do this a few times in EMEA. I still think I've not seen enough from Liquid, guys. You know, I think that's what's ultimately holding me back here. I would love to put 2 Northeast teams through and go with it biased that way, but for the sake of equal representation, I'm going to go Joblife. I think I'm then going to put Barca in third and Liquid missing out in second. Something along those lines. Maybe this is a big underrate on Barca's behalf and a bit of a criminal one too. But this is where I'm sort of roughly leaning right now, and I think if Joblife can get things sorted in order, they have all of the right players to do it. It's just about getting that system to work, and it looks like Unfake, with the confidence that he's brought of being part of that Vitality team, has managed to inspire them in the right direction. I know that this team is perfectly capable, as it was when it had Enzo. Liquid have sort of grown a little bit, but again, it's these group stages. I would be interested to know what the fixtures actually look like and who plays who first, but I don't think that's been scheduled yet, at least not on the initial one. No, it is here. Okay, who do we have? We got Joblife, Ghools, Liquid straight into the Barca game, then Ghools, and then Joblife Liquid on the last day. Sometimes these last day games don't end up meaning much, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, I'm going to sit on this that's what I've gone for. Let me know who you think is going to make it out of EMEA groups, whether you agree with me or not. This was just a chill video, not put a huge amount of thought behind it, but I hope you enjoyed the app session regardless. I'm not going to be co-streaming any of these games, unfortunately. I'm going to be away on holiday before London, but expect plenty more content from that. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to stay up to date with it. I've also been posting a lot of short form, so it's Instagram, TikTok, and here on YouTube as well for any of that. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in, and yeah, Challengers EMEA Stage 2 wrapped.